realizing she was dancing with the devil, she ran away. The devil, however, remained. Now, I always keep my demons in my dancing shoes. Coming into number 3, we have Goat Man. Goat Man, Goat Man, Goat Man, Goat Man. Fun to say, fun to talk about. There are a couple of legends surrounding the Goat Man of Old Alton Bridge in Denton County. The bridge is locally dubbed Goatman's Bridge, and some say that is because there is a goat-like demon that haunts the nearby forest. But others turn to a more elaborate tale of a local goat farmer. Oscar Washburn was a black goat farmer who was known for being an honest businessman, and he was a well-liked member of the community. Unfortunately, a successful black man caught the attention of the KKK, who was said to have abducted him in August 1938. Reportedly, they tied a noose around his neck and threw him over the Old Alton Bridge into the river below. When they went to bring up his body, they found that the noose was empty. Frustrated, the clan went to his house and slaughtered his wife and children. Washburn's body was never found, but a lot of paranormal enthusiasts will tell you that if you drive out over the bridge at night without your headlights on, the old goat man will be standing on the other side to greet you. Some also report being touched or grabbed by a spirit, and others say there are weird flashing lights in the nearby forest. Coming into number 2, we have the ghost of Fort Phantom Hill. Fort Phantom is one of the most well-preserved historic sites in Texas, with original architecture dating back to the mid-1850s. Fort Phantom was built as a safe stop for immigrants headed to the Californian gold fields. The story behind the name of Phantom Hill seems to be twofold. On the one hand, the fort is said to look really high up on a plateau from afar, but when you get close, it looks level, so it disappears like a phantom. The other story is that one night while a sentry was keeping watch, he fired on a Native American who was on the hill. When he went to go and investigate, he didn't find a body. When the team at the whole fort went out to look for a band of natives, they couldn't find any evidence of them ever being nearby. This ghost on the hill is said to re-emerge every now and then, confusing those who watch from the garrison. Finally, coming into number 1, we have one of the most well-known Texas urban legends ever. We have the Houston Batman. So first, I was like, Batman? How? Yes, get me there. But then I delved further into this legend and I realised that they don't mean like the superhero. No. The Houston Batman is also known as the Houston Horror and is a winged creature that has regularly been sighted in Houston, Texas. Now this creature is a bit like the Mothman of the Mothman prophecies, and I like a big moth. The story of the winged menace dates back to 1953 when a woman and her neighbours were sitting on their porch in East 3rd Street, Houston. 23-year-old housewife Hilda Walker said she looked up over the lawn and saw the shadow of a huge moth. When she looked up, she saw something huge then fly into a pecan tree. Her and her neighbours thought that the monster was around 6.5 feet tall, although they weren't totally sure what they'd seen. 14-year-old Judy Mayer, who was also sat on the porch, screamed in fear as she got a square-on look at the monster. He was described as a man, but with wings, huge wings, and a weird, strange yellow haze around him. Mrs. Walker reported the incident to the police and spoke to local news outlets. The Batman/Mothman may have been spotted once again by Houston Bel Air theatre workers in the 1990s, and the legend lives on today. Some suspect a government cover-up is at play, as vigilantes seeking the Batman discovered that some years after the initial incident, Mrs. Walker's neighbourhood was raised to make way for a new part of the interstate. Okay guys, that was the top 10 Texas urban legends. Before I go, I just want to reply to a few comments from one of my recent videos. This was the top 10 scary haunted places you can rent on Airbnb. Rebecca Gardinier said, "Yay, it's with Rebecca. Yay, your name's also Rebecca too. Rebecca's all over the world. Join hands, start a Rebecca train." I like ketchup rope. I don't really believe in ghosts, mainly because I've never had a paranormal experience. I mean, I guess maybe that could change. Adam L. Bellner said, "Make World War II stories." And do you know what? I'm really up for that. World War II is one of my favourite eras of history, and I bet there are like loads of spooky urban legends out there. So guys, do let me know which of these you found the spookiest. Do let me know what city, state or country you live in, and if you would like us to make an urban legends all for you. But now I'm your host Rebecca Felgate. Check out my Instagram in the link in the description box down below. Also, do give this video a thumbs up, share with a friend, and stay subscribed for more most amazing lists. Bye! Wait a minute, every time you're near, your body's
revisiting a very popular series on this channel with possibly the most popular country of all. It is, of course, America, where many of you guys are from. This right here is the top 10 scary American urban legends, part 3. Starting off number 10 now, we have the skunk ape. No, that's not my nickname. This is actually one of the most famous mysterious creatures said to wander from Florida to North Carolina and even Arkansas. As you guys might expect from the skunk part of the name, this thing doesn't smell great. Ever since the first sightings of it in the 1960s, people have mentioned the horrific smell of this thing. Often you can smell it before even seeing it. When you finally do, it looks like an ape, big, hairy, and running on 2 legs. For some people, the skunk ape isn't just a rumor, it's a reality. Dave Shealy is the man who established the official skunk ape research headquarters. He said there is not only 1 or 2, but 9 of these creatures living in the Florida Everglades alone. He spent most of his life trying to document them. According to Shealy, the average male skunk ape stands 6 to 7 feet tall and weighs roughly 450 pounds. Females are 5 to 6 feet tall and weigh in at about 250 pounds. Moving on to number 9 now, we have Charman. Ohio's Camp Comfort County Park is a picturesque place in California. It's also known for being home to many creepy spirits. There's a ghost of a bride wearing a bloody wedding dress, a woman on a horse reenacting her own death for eternity, and even a headless motorcyclist. However, none are as terrifying or as famous as Charman. Ever since a fire in 1948 killed a number of people there have been reports of this hideous figure wandering the area. He's said to have skin burnt to a crisp and noxious fumes pouring out of him. Some people go even further and say that this creature isn't even human at all. They say Charman is a beast, an entity that has visited people a number of times, and it always goes the same way. They say their homes are engulfed in thick black fumes that send them to sleep. Just before losing consciousness, they see Charman walking towards them. When they wake up, there will be a small fire nearby, a reminder that Charman has paid a visit. Next up on number 8 now, we have Turnbull Canyon. They say death awaits everyone at Turnbull Canyon. Located in Whittier, California, the canyon is known as a pretty dangerous place, as it is thanks to the mountain lions and rattlesnakes that call it home. Some people believe that the most dangerous thing there, though, is the paranormal. Members of the tribe who worked in the area reported seeing ghosts and witches in burial grounds there. Sightings became more frequent and reports started of there being a satanic cult that had taken root in the canyon. They were supposedly sacrificing children from a nearby orphanage. When locals got wind of what was happening, the cult disappeared overnight, but the reports of ghosts, creatures, and hooded figures still appear from time to time. Moving on to number 7 now, we have the Night Watchers. We're moving over to Hawaii now for this one. We all know it looks like paradise, but as we've seen in our last few videos, it's no stranger to some creepy urban legends. One of them is the Night Marchers. Locals say they are ghostly apparitions that can be seen walking in formation at night, never stopping, always facing forward, and there is always the sound of a beating drum echoing out in the silence of the night. Hawaiians say they are armed spirit warriors en route to a battle. They carry old weapons and are clothed in decorated helmets and cloaks. The next question is naturally, why do they appear? Well, some say they are restless souls looking to reclaim rightful territory or replay a battle gone wrong, hoping this time they can do it right. Or perhaps it's a simple ghost tale of avenging their own deaths. The creepiest theory I heard, though, is that they're searching for an entrance to the next world, instead of just wandering aimlessly for it.
How do you fall in love? Harder than a bullet.
Like other ghosts, they do it how a soldier knows best, in a focused, methodical manner. There are signs that the Night Marchers are out on the Hawaiian Islands. They are recognized by their raised torches and repeated chants. Sometimes footprints have been found, even though the Night Marchers are said to float a few inches off the ground. Moving on to number 6 now, we have the Voodoo Queen. Louisiana is a place steeped in voodoo history. For people in New Orleans, few stories rival that of Voodoo Queen Marie Laveau. She was said to be a prestigious woman who worked as a hairdresser in the city. She chatted to every customer she had, not just for the sake of it, but to get information. Eventually, she learned the secrets of everyone in the city, man and woman, rich and poor. She used this information to manipulate her enemies through voodoo. It's said she gained the power of immortality from a demonic force named by the name of Papa Legba. She wanted to do this so that she could kill innocent beings and seek revenge on those who had wronged her. Others say that she never murdered anyone and used her voodoo skills to unite people. She also blended Catholicism Catholicism and voodoo to form a religion that is still practiced in the area today. She died in 1881 at the age of 87, but the story did not end there. According to local legend, she returns to life once a year on St. John's Eve to lead the faithful in worship. If you're ever in New Orleans on that night, don't be surprised if you see a ghost of the voodoo queen looking for her followers. Moving on to number 5 now, we have the rougarou. We're staying in Louisiana now for this one. The rougarou is a werewolf creature that has been sighted across French Louisiana for centuries. The creature is said to have all the familiar tropes of a werewolf: huge, leering, covered in fur, and ready to tear any human to shreds. It differs from a classic werewolf though, in that the rougarou is said to have a genetic disorder rather than catching its disease from someone else or being cursed into it by a witch. A rougarou is a totally normal person until one day when their condition is just turned on. Their body is enlarged and they develop an insatiable craving for raw meat. They will remain in this painful state until they complete their transformation, and there's only one way to do that: to take a bite of human flesh. Those who have seen a rougarou describe it as huge, standing between 7 to 8 feet tall, with massive sharp teeth and deep glowing red eyes. It becomes its animal form on the night of a full moon. For many people, the rougarou is far scarier than a typical werewolf because the person doesn't even know they are one until it's far too late. It could be your friend, your family member, it could be me, or it could even be you. Next up at number 4 now, we have the skinwalkers. In traditional Navajo culture, the skinwalker is a witchcraft practitioner who wears the skins of various animals. A skinwalker can morph into a number of different creatures, including coyotes, wolves, bears, crows, and owls. In the past century or so, those outside of the Navajo people have also reported seeing skinwalkers. They've been described as half-human monstrosities who run on 2 legs at insanely fast speeds. One woman claimed that a skinwalker appeared on a Navajo reservation land. It ran alongside her car at 60 miles per hour, darted in front, and then disappeared into the night. They're often said to let out a screeching howl of laughter as they run circles around terrified people. Sightings like this have led many people to become interested in skinwalkers and want to interview Navajo tribes people to find out more about them. The problem is there is a deep superstition among the Navajo people when it comes to talking about skinwalkers. Many of the elders believe it's not good to talk or even hear about skinwalkers, otherwise you will attract them to you. Let's hope we don't do that after discussing them in this video. Next up at number 3 now, we have Stowe Lake. Stowe Lake lies in Golden Gate Park in California. It's said to be home to a ghost that not only appears to visitors, but can also be summoned by them. According to locals, the ghost of Stowe Lake was a mother whose baby fell into the lake. Now they say that she can be summoned by standing on the edge of the lake and saying a 1938 when reports of a man terrorizing couples spread around the city. But asked to describe the man, some details were disputed, but one thing everyone agreed on was that this man was undoubtedly, categorically the devil. He was described as having eyes like a chicken, with bright pink star-shaped ears and long black horns. He also rode on thin air and shape-shifted while announcing himself as the devil. The most common reports involved him terrorizing bars, attacking women, and appearing before local couples. People who saw the devil man said they always felt a sense of oncoming death or dread, that they even saw their lives flash before their very eyes. Perhaps the most scary story comes from a young couple. They said as they were traveling home one evening, a strange person tried to stop their car. They slowed the car and asked what he wanted. He asked for a ride to a nearby town. The couple felt uncomfortable though, and so they politely declined. Later, as they drove down the highway, they saw the same man walking along the side of the road. They drove past him, but after just 10 minutes, there he was again, walking by the side of the road. Again, he asked them to stop and requested a ride, and again they refused. When they saw him again, he changed into the devil before their own eyes. They sped off again, and then there he was, this time riding a brown horse. They rushed to tell the police, who went to investigate. The police saw him and requested that he stops. When he didn't, they fired shots into him. He jumped off the horse and sprayed the bullets back at them, laughing and rubbing his hairy hands together. He was brought to jail, where he quickly slipped out of his cell and into New Orleans legends. Alright guys, that is a lot more American scary urban legends for you. I know a lot of you guys have been asking me to split them up into different states, but I think for now we're going to keep trying to do the whole country as a whole and see where it goes. What other countries would you like to see next in this series though? Do let me know in the comment section below. Thank you for watching as always guys. My name is Danny Burke and I'll see you all in the next one.
YouTube, you guys did it. You guys came back, you guys clicked on this video, and it is me, your host for this one, Landon Do Not Sing. And before we get started, I want to know in the comment section below, what was your scariest nightmare? And also stay tuned to the end of this video, because we've been doing bloopers, because I've been messing up a lot, and you guys don't get to see the unedited stuff. So we saved it for you guys for this video, so stay tuned to the end. Okay, a lot of people are absolutely terrified by clowns. I don't blame them. There's just something about a clown's face that gives me the creeps. And you don't know who's under the clown mask. It doesn't help that there are a lot of horror movies and there have been killer clowns. So let's take a look at the top 10 clown urban legends. Okay, starting off this list, number 10 is Chicago's Homie the Clown. There have been a ton of rumors about a clown who would lure children into his white van near schools. So many people in Chicago began to believe that these rumors were actually true. And some of them even reported seeing Homie the Clown to the police, but he was never caught. According to this urban legend, Homie was a kidnapper, a rapist who enjoyed dressing in a clown costume because he wanted children to trust him. Homie was always nearby, and you couldn't walk home without seeing this creepy white van following you home. Because of this urban legend, so many parents took time off work to pick up their children from school because they didn't want them to be abducted and murdered by Homie the Clown. Ronald McDonald Dolls peeps into number 9. Yeah, I think it's safe to say that Ronald McDonald is a creepy looking doll, and I would never want to meet him in real life. But according to this story, a man and his wife were driving on a deserted road in the middle of nowhere when they saw something really terrifying. In the middle of the streets, they saw dozens of creepy looking Ronald McDonald dolls scattered. This incident took place around midnight, and apparently this is a very popular scheme used by gangs, abductors, and rapists to lure women out of their cars. Strangely enough, all of these dolls disappeared the next morning without a trace. I'm pretty sure if I was a woman and I saw these creepy dolls on the road, I would definitely not be getting out of that car. I mean, are you kidding me? If anything, I'd be putting my foot on the gas pedal and I would get myself out of there because something is about to go down. A clown armed with a gun fires into number 8. There are a bunch of stories about a crazed maniac dressed like a clown who would knock on people's doors. He would be carrying a bouquet of flowers and 2 silver balloons, so surely you would want to open the door for him. Or would you? Once you open the door, he would shoot you point blank in the forehead with a 38 caliber revolver. This clown doesn't seem too friendly, does he? Well, once this urban legends gained popularity, a real-life copycat murderer decided to try this out for himself. The mystery of this crazed killer clown remains a mystery to this day. Number 7, we have the clown doll. There is a very scary-looking doll named Vincent Hitchcock, who is said to be possessed by the spirit of a child. A woman from Oregon first discovered the scary doll in an online auction, and she collects these creepy things, so she added this doll to her collection for $500. I mean, you can't be serious here. Shortly after she placed Vincent in a corner of the room, she began to experience some strange things around her home. Sometimes the clown would be in different positions, or he would actually go missing. Other times Vincent would blink his eyes and watch her as she slept. She left a tape recorder next to him, and when she went to listen to it, she heard, "I'm going to kill you." I mean, is this real life right now? Well, if I was in this situation, first off, I would not try to record it because I don't want to be freaked out and know what it says. And I would for sure get this clown. I would put a bowling ball, I would tie it around him and drop him in a river. And this river has to be like other side of the world. Killer clown chain email makes its way onto our list at number 6. A chain letter or email is a message that tries to convince the reader to forward the letter to as many people as possible. You guys probably know it. It's like, pass this on or you will die in 30 days. And you're like, oh my god, I have to do it. Well, originally chain letters were sent through the mail, but now with the internet, they're becoming highly circulated through emails as well. So there is one version of a killer clown chain email that warns the people that if they don't send this email to 10 other people within 5 minutes, the clown will be standing next to your bed at 3 a.m. with a knife in his hand. I'm pretty sure if I saw that, I would quickly send it off to 10 people. There's no way I want that to happen to me. Okay, let's move on our list. The scary clown statue haunts us in at number 5. This creepy urban legend goes something like this. A teenage girl was babysitting for a family one night. The parents had a huge collection of clown memorabilia, statues, and figurines, so they decided to put all of their clown things into one room. Okay, this story's already freaking me out because why do people have memorabilia of just so many clowns? So after the parents left, the children and the babysitter were playing in the clown room. A lot of these clowns were just statues, and some were even life-size. There was one creepy clown that was sitting in the rocking chair, and the babysitter felt as though his eyes were following her as she moved around the room. It's probably because it is. It's probably because there's someone in there. So someone's under the mask. Well, she called the parents and asked them to see if she can move the clown from the rocking chair, to another room, maybe in a closet, maybe in the basement, lock the door, you know what I'm saying? So because this clown was scaring the kids, the parents said, get out of the house immediately, go to the neighbor's house, because that may not be a fake clown, it might be actually somebody. Well, frightening and confused, the babysitter grabbed the kids, ran to the neighbor's house. The parents later explained that they were being stalked by a mentally ill man for quite some time, and he really wanted to hurt this family. One time he even snuck into their house and tried to kidnap the children, but luckily they failed. And now this time he dressed up in a clown costume, painted his face, and waited patiently until he had the opportunity to kill them. So this has just become a crazy story, because the babysitter was thinking that it was a fake clown on the rocking chair, but that was actually a real man waiting for his opportunity to kill you. Next up, number 4, we have the Zozabee, the stinky clown. This urban legend focuses on the true story of Frederick Zozabee, who was a clown that tragically committed suicide. But legends has it that his ghost remains on Earth, haunting people, and also innocent children. A pair of brothers woke up in the middle of the night because they heard extremely creepy laughter. Once they opened their eyes, they saw a tall man dressed in a one-piece maroon suit and a painted-on clown face standing in their doorway. If that's not scary enough, the clown moved closer to their beds, and his face had a crooked nose, hollow black eyes, and heavy clown makeup. This ghost is said to be extremely evil, and if you look in his eyes, you will die. Oh, and you can tell it's the ghost of Zozabee because he leaves a terrible odor behind that smells like embalming fluid. Okay, I'm not sure what embalming fluid smells like, but let's just go with it that it smells pretty bad. Creepy clowns hiding in the woods is next up at number 3. According to this urban legend, a mother returns home from work and her youngest son said that he has seen a bunch of clowns whispering in the woods near their apartment complex. He said that he can hear them laughing and they were trying to get him into the woods to play with them. Initially, the mother just brushes this off and blames it on his wild imagination. But later that night, her oldest son said that he heard chains rattling and banging on the front door. And when he looked through the peephole, he saw a white painted face with a big red nose and devil-looking eyes. Apparently, a lot of local children went missing in this area because the killer clown in the woods convinced them all to play with them. That's probably one lesson I'm teaching my kid. As soon as my kid is born, I'm gonna be like, listen, you see a clown, you run the other way. Now at number 2, the Phantom Clown. In this urban legends, clowns are driving in vans that are painted in either black or blue, and they are known to abduct and murder children in the neighborhood. Most of these Phantom Clown rumors mostly circulated around young children who have even claimed that they've seen these clown vans lurking near their schools or homes. Investigators couldn't find any evidence of killer clowns in vans who abducted children, so that's where the name Phantom Clown comes from. But those who have seen the vans with killer clowns inside have also seen them with swords and knives and guns. And anyone who was brave enough to look inside of a van was never seen or heard from again. Pretty scary. And finally, we have made it to our number 1 spot. I think we've done it again. We've saved our best for last. Well, we have Pogo the Killer Clown. Have you heard of him? Well, in Chicago, Illinois, there was a charismatic man who was dressed up as Pogo the Clown. And he appears at charitable events such as fundraisers, parades, and children's parties. But he had a sinister agenda. He would lure children into his house with the promise of giving them candy, presents, or money. Once inside, he would abuse them both physically and mentally. He was an evil clown who sexually assaulted, tortured, and murdered at least 33 teenage boys and young men. He would then bury his victims in the crawl space of his home and continue to perform children's parties dressed as Pogo the Clown. This is a very scary urban legend. Well, does this urban legend sound familiar? What if I told you that this actually happened? And Pogo the Clown was actually John Wayne Gacy. So yeah, this killer clown really did exist until he was executed by lethal injection by 1994. This is exactly the reason why I don't trust clowns. Well, we made it to the end of this video. Thank God for that, because I couldn't handle another scary story for this video. Thanks for you guys who came to the end of this video, and I think we have just a few bloopers for you guys, so hopefully you guys enjoy that. No, Zozabee. Why did I say Zozabee? And there have been killer clowns. And some of them. Ronald McDonald dolls. The stinky clown. You think it's Zozabee? Zozabee the stinky clown? Baby. Zoza baby? Zoza bee? Zoza, for sure not Zoza bee? The stinky plant, Zoza bee? Zoza, okay. The hell does that smell like? Embalming fluid? Why does that stink?
Mexico is world famous for its food and culture, but by now I'm sure we've all heard the scary stories too. After all, there is literally a Mexican holiday called the Day of the Dead. People there know the stories. I've seen many of you in the comments who are from Mexico asking for me to share more because they're just so good. I totally agree, and that's why we are back today. My name is Danny Burke, and this is the top 10 scary Mexican urban legends, part 2. Starting off number 10 now, we have La Llorona. The story goes like this. Once upon a time, in a Mexican village, there lived a young woman called Maria. Her family was poor, but she was known for her beauty. One day, a rich nobleman was traveling through her village, but stopped in his tracks when he saw Maria. He was so charmed by her beauty that he proposed to her immediately. She accepted, the wedding was planned, even though the nobleman's father was disappointed that his son was marrying into poverty. Maria and her new husband built a house in the village, and eventually she gave birth to 2 twin boys. Her husband was always traveling, but returned when he could, until one day he never came home. A while later, as Maria and her boys were walking by a river, she saw a familiar carriage with a younger, beautiful woman next to her husband. Maria flew into a jealous rage. She was so angry at seeing her husband cheating on her that she picked up her 2 boys and flung them into the river. By the time she came around, their bodies were floating in the river, face down. She then jumped in, hoping to also drown and be with her kids. Now, they say her soul is attached to the land, unable to pass on because of her grief and the murder of her 2 little boys. People say if you hear her cries, then misfortune or even death is just around the corner. If you're a child, you must be extra careful. She is always attracted to children, hoping they are actually hers. She will try and drown them to be with her children. Kids must never walk alone by the river unless they too want to meet the same fate. Moving on to number 9 now, we have El Sombreron. In some parts of Mexico, people swear this mysterious creature exists. Its name roughly translates to the goblin in English. He goes around wearing a huge dark hat and dresses entirely in black except for his ornamental boots and belt. He preys on the young, especially girls. El Sombreron has an obsession with braiding hair. He often braids the manes and tails of horses, or if there are none about, he braids the hair of dogs. People see the animals with their hair braided like this, they know the goblin is somewhere nearby. When he can't find the animals, he follows young women with large eyes and long hair. He arrives in town with a pack of mules, and when he finds a woman that he likes, he ties up his mules and serenades her with a silver guitar. After enchanting her back to his home, he's said to serve them dirt for dinner, which makes them unable to sleep. The legend goes that a young girl named Susanna was admiring the moon and stars from her balcony one night when she was approached and serenaded by the goblin with the big hat. Her parents were worried and upset by their daughter being out so late, and so they forced her to come inside. The goblin returned every night though, making it impossible for her to sleep. When her parents tried to feed her, she'd always find dirt in her food. Her parents eventually cut the girl's hair and had it blessed by a priest. Suddenly, the El Sombreron had no interest in her, and the visits just stopped. He moved on to search for his next victim, and they say he continues his journey even today. Moving on to number 8 now, we have the vanishing hitchhiker. This is an old story burned into the memory of many Mexicans. One night in November, many years ago, a taxi driver called Pedro Ramirez was heading for the town of Cazones. It was a warm night, but every now and again, Pedro felt a quick snap of cold. Then, on the dark road, a girl stopped him to ask for help. She said that bad people wanted to harm her, and so they sped away from the area together. She said her name was Martha, and that her parents were the owners of the ranch where he had just picked her up from. He took her to Cazones and left her at the house that she wanted to go to. Martha was very grateful and invited him to spend the day with her sometime. Pedro took her up on this offer and returned a few days later. He knocked on the door of the house. An elderly woman came to the door. He asked for Martha and explained how they met. The old woman smiled and said that Martha was her daughter, who had been assassinated 10 years before by drug dealers outside of her husband's ranch. The woman was smiling because this wasn't the first time Martha's ghost had done this. Still, Pedro didn't quite...
Batiste Dry Shampoo is the quick and easy way to instantly refresh your hair between washes. Simply
quite believe her. She invited him in, and there in the living room was a very old photo of Martha looking just like she had the other night. Many people get creeped out by this story, but are also quite glad to know who the girl is by the side of the road to Cozones. Next up at number 7 now, we have the Santa Paula Cemetery. This is said to be a very haunted cemetery near the city of Guadalajara. The story dates back to 1882 and goes like this. One night, a young couple put their 9-year-old son Ignacio to bed. His family nickname was Nachito. Nachito slept with a light on as he was very afraid of the dark. He had 2 lit torches outside of his bedroom window and slept with the windows open. This particular night, storm hit and blew out the torches. The next morning, his mother entered the room to find it was icy cold. She rushed to Nachito but found him dead. He had died from a heart attack due to his pathological fear of the dark when the torches went out. However, a rumor spread that Nachito's heart had actually exploded inside his chest and that his death was actually a curse or the work of demons. He was laid to rest in a cemetery, and the strangeness that began with his death did not end quickly. The next morning, his coffin was found lying on the ground next to his grave. The parents and locals were shocked and had it reburied, but the next morning, the same exact thing happened. It continued like this for 9 straight days. His parents began to think that the boy was so afraid of the dark, he didn't want to be kept in the ground away from the light, even in death. So they created a stone coffin that stood on pillars above the ground so that his tomb could always see sunlight. Ever since then, people reported hearing and seeing a boy that matches Nachito's description wandering around at night. Others have seen mysterious balloons just hovering above the gravestones as if carried by a small child. Many people who hear this story actually go to visit Nachito's grave. Some hope they won't see the signs of him at night, but reports of his sightings continue to this day. Moving on to number 6 now, we have the Cadejo. This is a supernatural character from southern Mexican folklore. There are 2 types of this creature, the white and black Cadejo. They are dog-like creatures. The white one is said to be good, accompanying people home late at night. The black Cadejo is feared as an evil spirit. It does exactly the opposite. It tries to kill people walking alone at night. If the person survives the attack, it's because they are an idiot, apparently. Quite often, a person is saved from the attack by the white Cadejo. The 2 will battle it out until the good Cadejo wins. It's a sight to behold. While they are dog-like creatures, they're often described as being much bigger than dogs. Some reports say they can be as big as cows. They have burning red eyes and goat's hooves. They lurk in graveyards and dark alleys, waiting for their victims to pass by. They have a distinct smell of concentrated urine and burning sulfur, if you can imagine that. People say they move in a very demonic nature with short, jerky movements. One thing to remember about the Cadejo is that its gaze can freeze you in place, at which point you can be easily attacked by the evil one. Next up at number 5 now, we have La Mala Hora. This name translates to the evil owl or the evil one. Either is a fitting description for this being. In parts of Mexico, it's believed to be a wicked spirit or evil demon that wanders country roads after midnight, waiting to attack anyone who walks alone. It waits at crossroads, hoping for a lost traveller to pass by. The people who have seen it, they fear the evil one more than the actual devil. It first appears as a large black lump swirling through the night air and changing shape. It shapeshifts quickly, getting bigger or smaller at will. People say it resembles a ghostly black shroud or a large black cotton ball. Nobody wants to see it though, for to do so will drive a person to insanity. The demon will try to hypnotize and paralyze people before attacking them. When it does, it rushes forward as a thick black smog, enveloping and suffocating them. The next morning, locals will find them dead at the crossroads, and they'll know who is to blame. Next up at number 4 now, we have the Princess of Bufa. This story comes from the Cerro de la Bufa, an area of forested hills and rocky cliffs on the southeast side of Guanajuato. There, locals say an enchanted princess lives at the peak of the mountain. They say that on holy Thursdays for centuries, she will emerge from the mountaintop to call out for a handsome and valiant man to rescue her by carrying her down to the altar in the nearby town. Once there, she will become a human, and the town will be restored to its former glory as a booming mining town. However, as with many similar stories, there is always a catch. They say the man who rescues the princess must not be so stunned by her beauty that he cannot complete the journey. He must carry her calmly in his arms all of the way. He cannot look back or lose his step, especially when he starts hearing strange noises behind him. If he does turn around or stumble, the princess will turn into a vicious, hideous serpent and will devour him whole. People say this happens every year because the town has still not met its former glory. Will the snake princess claim victims like this forever? Moving on to number 3 now, we have the mannequin. In a store window in the city of Chihuahua, there stands a bridal mannequin that has become famous in the paranormal community. It's been there since 1930, and at first glance, it doesn't look so creepy, but wait till you hear this. Soon after it was placed there, locals noticed the mannequin bore an uncanny resemblance to the daughter of the woman who owned the store, Pascuala Esperanza. A rumor spread that this mannequin was actually the embalmed body of the daughter who had recently died on her wedding day after being bitten by a black widow spider. Of course, the mother denied all of this, but the legend took hold. People were convinced it was the body of the daughter. The resemblance and just how lifelike it looked were just too perfect. Sonia Busiaga was a woman who worked in the store. She had to change the outfit twice a week and was quoted as saying, "Every time I go near Pascuala, my hands break out in a sweat." Her hands are very realistic, and she even has varicose veins on her legs. I believe she is a real person. Well, I thought that sounded a little bit ridiculous until I saw the close-up of her hands. Now I'm not so sure. I'm only sure that I'm never going anywhere near her. Moving on to number 2 now, guys, we have the Island of Dolls. If you head just south of Mexico City, you can find an island that attracts tourists from all over the world. The whole thing is covered in creepy dolls of every shape and size. There is a famous story as to why. It's said that a girl was found drowned in mysterious circumstances many years ago on the island. The body was found by a man called Don Julian Santana Barrera. Shortly after, he saw a floating doll nearby. He hung it to a tree as a sign of respect and as a way of helping her into the next life. However, it didn't seem to work. Don Julian was apparently haunted by the spirit of the girl. He began hanging more dolls in an attempt to please her restless spirit. Then he realized what he had done, and it was already far too late. He believed the dolls themselves were now possessed by the spirits of dead girls from all over the world. His friends say that he went mad, as if driven by an unseen force to continue what he started. After 50 years of doll hanging, Don Julian was found dead, drowned in the same area where the girl had died. Now locals believe that his spirit has joined the others on the island. People visit to honor him, the girl, and the spirits of the others. However, most people don't stay too long, and almost nobody would spend a night on the Island of Dolls. And finally, number 1 now, we have the seventh son. This story comes from a remote area near Toledo. In the 19th century, there was a boy who lived in a village. His name was Federico. He was the 7th son in his family. In fact, his father was also the 7th son in his family. Locals believe that because of this, he was endowed with dark occult powers. They say he had second sight and the ability to predict the future. Even more, he had a natural gift for healing, curing any one of their ailments with just a touch of his hand. Although he was kind, quiet, and shy, the other kids hated him because they feared him. Overall, the village wanted nothing to do with him. And so, one night, the village elders held a meeting to discuss what should be done about him. They voted to kill him and then destroy his body. That was said to be the only way the village could be kept safe from the dark forces he channeled. It led him to an abandoned shack in the woods. When his back was turned, they pounced on him and bound him up. In a satanic ritual, they stripped him, hung him from the roof, and then lowered him into a vat of boiling oil. He didn't stop there though. He was still alive and screaming in pain, and so they gouged out his eyes and hacked his body to bits. The parts were then put in a wooden barrel and dumped into the river. With that, they were satisfied. The next day, some villagers went to visit one of the elders. They knocked on his door but got no reply. As soon as they entered, they stopped. There was the elder, dead on the floor. His eyeballs were on his chest. His head had been crushed beyond all recognition. His eyes and feet had also been chopped off. On the ground in front of the body, there was a message written in his blood. Innocent blood has been spilt. Now the guilty must die. After that day, all the elders who were responsible for the boy's death began to die one by one. Their bodies always found in hideous ways. When the last one died, there was another message written in blood. It read, "Now I have been avenged. The guilty have paid their debt." Ooh. Okay, let's take a moment there. I think that ended on a very gory note. Is that the kind of thing that creeps you out in these videos, or are you more into ghosts and stuff? Let me know what you find most to look out for. It's okay if you say all of it. Also let me know which country you think we should do next, of course. I'm thinking more South American countries in the future. Thanks for watching this video, guys. My name is Danny Burke, and I'll be seeing you all in the next video. to explain this series to you guys anymore, but I'll do it for the newcomers. This is where I take a look at some of the creepy tales, both old and new, from countries all around the world. We've done quite a few now. Many of them have been great suggestions from you. This is actually one of them, and I think this might be one of the best. Let's see what you think though. My name is Danny Burke, and this is the top 10 scary Malaysian urban legends. Starting out number 10 now, we have the taxi passenger. The story goes that one night a taxi driver was working late, and as the clock ticked down to midnight, he suddenly saw a beautiful young woman standing at the corner of a traffic light junction. She had long black hair and a flowing white dress. He asked her if she needed a ride. She got in without a word. The taxi driver asked where she wanted to go. The girl simply handed him a piece of paper. It had a number and the name of a road on it. The taxi driver wasn't sure where it was and asked if she could help him. She nodded. She kept nodding every time he went the correct way, but never actually said a word. They finally reached the road. It was very narrow, just enough for one car to pass down, and it was dark. There were no working streetlights. A mist engulfed the car. He tried to peer through the fog and see the numbers on the houses, but to his horror, there were none. Just rows and rows of gravestones. He was gripped with fear and nervously asked if this was the right place. No answer came from the back seat. He continued to drive slowly, but then felt a tap on his shoulder. Too scared to turn around, he stopped the car. He heard the rustle of money and felt her hand giving him some cash. He threw it down without even counting it. He heard the back door open and then close. He then sped home without looking back. The next morning, curiosity got the better of him and he returned to the same street. It was indeed a large cemetery. He found the lot number that the girl had given him. His eyes widened in horror as he saw the woman's picture staring back at him from a fresh gravestone. He later found out the girl had died the week before in a horrific accident at the very same junction he had picked her up from. It was a hit and run, and the driver was never caught. Moving on to number 9 now, we have the yellow Volkswagen on Karak Highway. For many Malaysians, the Karak Highway is the most haunted road in the country. This is in part due to it having the highest accident rate in the whole of Malaysia. Aside from reports of an eerie feeling along the road, there are some more solid stories. Perhaps the most famous is that of the yellow Volkswagen. The story goes that if you see this yellow car on the road, it will block your lane. It will then begin to slow down to a snail's pace, forcing you to overtake it. Once you do that, you'll continue on for a while until it happens again. The same yellow car will be blocking you, it will slow down, you will go past it, and then it happens again and again. After a few times, you'll realize that it's actually just the same car, and what's even more creepy is that there appears to be nobody driving it. The only way to stop the cycle is to actually not overtake it. Some say that when you are overtaking it, the car will speed up and disappear into darkness. Next up at number 8 now, we have the Lang Suya. This is said to be the ghost of a woman who died while giving birth to a stillborn child. The mother's grief turns her into a sort of flying banshee creature. On the surface, she will look like a beautiful woman with long nails, hair down to her ankles, and dressed all in green. However, don't be fooled by their beauty. The Lang Suya haunts coastal areas and attacks pregnant women out of jealousy. People believe you can stop a pregnant woman's corpse from becoming a Lang Suya though. You need to place beads in her mouth, an egg in each armpit, and needles on her hands. This should make it possible for her to pass on peacefully to the afterlife. If everything fails, there is said to be one way to fight a Lang Suya. You cut off her long nails and stuff her hair into the hole in the back of her neck. Moving on to number 7 now, we have the DJ. This urban legend revolves around a Malaysian radio DJ. He had a late night show in the 90s where listeners could call in to share their ghost stories. One night a man called in to share his story. He said he was driving down a highway late at night with his parents, his wife, and their baby. They were all asleep in the back, and he felt quite sleepy too. He saw a large truck coming the other way, but on his side of the road. It suddenly sped past him, but before he even had time to collect his thoughts, it happened again, and then again, and then again. It happened a few more times, each one as shocking as the last, and then it seemed to change. The truck started appearing behind him now. He realized it was chasing him. He sped up, trying not to panic. As he came over a hill, he suddenly saw a single headlight heading towards him again. He swerved violently to avoid it, but lost control of the car, crashing through the highway barrier and into a deep gully. Then he told the radio DJ that the crash had killed all of his family. He sounded distraught. Then he said the crash took his own life as well. He then hung up the phone. The DJ thought it was just a prank and laughed it off. However, the next day's newspaper had a story on the front page. It said an accident had occurred along the highway, the same one described by the caller. A car had crashed the night before, killing an elderly couple, a husband and wife, and their baby. The DJ was stunned. He felt the hairs stand up on the back of his neck. He rushed to play the tape back from the mystery caller the night before, but all he found was minutes of nothing but silence. Next up at number 6 now, we have the merman. In 2006, shocking pictures began circulating around Malaysian websites that seemed to show what people were describing as a merman. That's a male version of a mermaid. It was supposedly caught by a fisherman in Teluk Buhang Beach in Penang. There were 6 photos of the creature taken from various angles. They were attached to an email that was going around claiming that the newspapers were not being allowed to share these pictures. The merman appears vaguely humanoid in shape and seems to be about the size of an adult male. There were 2 long fins that resembled large ears on its head. It had 2 arms and was covered in fins from head to toe. A while after this, internet investigators claimed that the pictures had come from an eBay sale in Florida, but die-hard conspiracy theories believe this is all just part of a cover-up and that there are more mermen out there in the Malaysian seas. At number 5 now, guys, we have the oily man. In Malaysian folklore, the oily man is a sort of supernatural being called into life and controlled by an evil witch doctor. It can cover its whole body in a black, oily substance that makes him practically invisible at night, difficult to catch, and makes breaking and entering extremely easy for him. It crawls up the walls and the sides of tall buildings. Once on top of them, it leaps from rooftop to rooftop. Some say it's like the Malaysian version of Venom, although the oily man definitely came before that. Before you say this is just an ancient creature passed down through stories, think again. As recently as 2012, there were reports of a knife-wielding oily man leaping from building to building in Malaysia. The residents of Kampung claim to have seen and heard him for 10 days. Moving on to number 4 now, we have the hotel bed. The story goes like this. A group of college friends planned a weekend trip to a Malaysian resort during their break. They booked 1 room with 2 beds, figuring they could save money by fitting 4 people in them. When they reached the resort, they wasted no time in seeing the local attractions for the day. They decided to freshen up back at the hotel before heading out to dinner. While one of them was lying on the bed, they complained that it felt quite lumpy, but they decided to not complain to hotel management because they already had too many people in the room and they didn't want to get caught. After dinner, they headed out to some bars before returning around midnight. When they got back, they got ready for bed. However, when they began to rearrange the mattresses to fit all of them in, they saw something truly horrific. There, sandwiched between the mattress and the bed springs, was the corpse of a woman. They ran out of the room and told hotel management. The hotel were keen to avoid any negative publicity and decided to pay the students a lot of money to keep quiet. Still, this rumor began to spread, and now many young Malaysian people will make sure to check if their hotel mattress ever feels too lumpy. Coming at number 3 now, we have Janet's ghost. The story goes that Janet was a young Chinese nurse in Kuching's public hospital. Legend says she disappeared around the late 1960s. This was at a time when there was an epidemic of kidnappings in the city. All that police had figured out so far was that the kidnappings may be linked to the construction of Satok Bridge. If construction of the bridge was held up, it meant that the territorial spirits were displeased. Human sacrifices had to be made to appease them. Apparently, they preferred to sacrifice virgin girls that only use their heads. This meant they would be decapitated and their heads would be embedded in the concrete pillars to strengthen the bridge. Eventually, they found Janet's headless body, confirming the police's theory. Her grieving parents buried her in a red dress and red shoes. According to some Chinese belief systems, if a woman dies wearing red, she will return as a vengeful spirit. They say her parents did this so she could return from the dead and take revenge on her killers. Then, the sightings began. Villagers on the outskirts of the city reported seeing a mysterious woman dressed all in red. She would catch rides on motorbikes or cross ferries by herself, would always leave behind Chinese hell notes. Her quest to find her killers continues, and she doesn't care who stands in her way. Moving on to number 2 now, we have the Toyol. The name for this creature is sometimes translated in English to goblin, but it's not the kind of goblin you're probably thinking of. This thing is much more creepy, in my opinion. It's said to be the spirit of a small child invoked from a dead human fetus. It's traditionally described as looking like a near-naked baby with brownish skin, large fangs, and sharp ears. The Toyols always have a master, and the master may use it to capture other humans. It's said that the owner of the Toyol may become rich beyond their wildest dreams, but there is always a price to pay when it comes to the spirit world. Becoming the master of a Toyol can bring fortune, but the health of every one of the master's family will steadily decline. They will eventually lose everything and then slowly die. The Toyol are evil in their behavior, but childlike in their thinking. People use this to try and distract a Toyol from entering their homes. They scatter buttons on the floor, leave sweets or toys next to them in the hopes that a Toyol will pass on and spare them another day. And finally, number one now, we have the horror. Remember, we were talking earlier about Karak Highway, the really haunted road? Well, we're returning for another scary story there. One day, a couple were traveling down the road to return to their hometown after a relative's wedding. They decided to travel late at night, and the journey was going well for a while, but then signs of trouble started. Their trusty Proton Weir began to zigzag wildly on the road. As they struggled to control it, the engine gave a last splutter and then died. The husband was shocked. He had just had the car serviced the day before. Now they were stranded by the road in the middle of the night and only about halfway to their destination. All around them was desolate hills and jungle. They kept trying to start the car over and over again, but nothing seemed to work. They gave up and decided to flag someone down for help. When that didn't work, the husband decided to try and find an emergency phone somewhere. The wife disagreed because she was afraid that he might get knocked down walking in the dark. He went anyway and told his wife to wait in the car. She waited for what felt like forever. The jungle trees seemed to shift in the dark around her. Then there was a loud thump on the roof of the car, followed by a rustling sound. She thought it was animals and decided to not get out of her car to check. Then another car's headlights began to approach from behind. The car slowed down as it passed, but then quickly sped off. She waited for hours. Other cars did the same. She began to worry more about the rustling sound from the roof and where exactly her husband was. Finally, a police car approached. It stopped a few meters away. The policeman got out and called to her using a megaphone, telling her to back away from the car slowly. When she got to the police car, she looked back out of curiosity. To her horror, she saw her husband's body on the roof of the car. There was a demonic creature feasting on his blood. This had been happening for all those hours that she was sitting in the car. The police quickly took her away, and the legend began. And on that gruesome and grisly note, we will leave it there. I enjoyed making this video. I hope you guys enjoyed watching it. This came from your suggestions, so I want to hear what country we should do next down below. Thanks for watching, as always, guys. My name is Danny Burke, and I will see you all in the next video.
Into stores and banks while yelling hysterically. The town hall officials were terrified that this insanity would spread to other nearby towns, so they brought in a ton of mental health specialists to examine all the people who went insane. Even though they weren't able to come to a conclusion, the government didn't want to take any risks, so they banned Ouija boards within their town limits. That's crazy. In at number 9, never play the Ouija board in a graveyard. I mean, who is doing this? When you're playing the Ouija board, you are contacting whatever spirits are around you. So logically, if you're playing your Ouija board in a graveyard, you're taking a pretty big risk. When you're in a graveyard, you are literally surrounded by spirits and ghosts and whatever is around you. So the chances of you contacting an evil or a wicked spirit, it increases dramatically. You also shouldn't use Ouija boards at the scene of an accident, a mass death, or murder. That's because the amount of violence that surrounds those places are more likely to attract spirits or demons who, they want to hurt you once you summon them. Figure 8 ironically comes into this list at number 8. Alright, so there are a lot of ways you can tell if the Ouija board session has gone horribly wrong. One of the major telltales is when your planchette moves through the alphabet or numbers, or if it hits the corners or makes a figure 8. If your planchette, a little figure thing you move around the board, if it begins to move across the board in any of these patterns, it's probably a good time to say goodbye. Bathe in holy water and go see a priest, because it is time to confess all of your sins. These are all the signs that your Ouija board have been taken over by an evil spirit or a demon. But the worst case scenario is if your planchette moves in a figure 8 position, because the evil spirits is letting you know that they have control of the board, and you are no longer in control, my friend. So if you see the figure 8, you're supposed to immediately end the session by saying goodbye and just hope and pray that the evil spirits leave you alone. Next up at number 7, never burn a Ouija board. This is a big no. According to a popular urban legend, you are never supposed to burn a Ouija board no matter what. If you decide to burn a Ouija board, prepare to suffer from the consequences. Apparently, if you set a Ouija board on fire, you anger all of the spirits and ghosts who have made contact with you, and then they are released from the board, and they're going to be in your house. A lot of people who have tried to get rid of the boards, that by burning it, reported that when they set the board on fire, it made a loud, high-pitched screaming sound that haunts them while they sleep. And another person have actually reported that after they set their board on fire, they found one piece of the board, it survived, and it said the word yes. Not sure what that means, so make sure you guys don't burn your Ouija boards, unless you guys are prepared to suffer. You could release spirits into your home, and this brings us into number 6. If you manage to not get possessed by a demon after playing with the Ouija board, that doesn't mean that you won't have any negative consequences to deal with. You can easily release a bad spirit into your home. It is believed that Ouija boards act like portholes to other dimensions, and when you open up the board, you have no idea who you're going to be communicating with. Some spirits might appear to be friendly, but spirits are compulsive liars, and they will say anything to trick you. After you have the session with the board, you might start to hear some strange noises, things might start to move around your home, or your electrical devices might start to stop working on their own. Either way, you are going to need a lot of holy water and prayers, because once a demon or bad spirit haunts your home, you're gonna have a tough time getting out. Gotta call like the Ghostbusters or something. I'm not sure. I'm not an expert in this. Okay, be careful, because in number 5, you could be possessed if you play with the Ouija board. It is believed that when you play with the Ouija board, you're putting your life in danger, because you could be messing around with spirits or demons, and these guys have the ability to possess your body and soul. For me, I guess I don't have a problem with this, because I don't have a soul. Well, there are countless reports of people being possessed by ghosts or demons after using the Ouija board. Over in Colombia, 20 students were rushed to the hospital after a Ouija board session went horribly wrong. A bunch of these students became hysterical and started to faint after they played with the Ouija board mobile app. They had a demonic look in their eyes, and they were shouting, "The devil is going to take me." Doctors couldn't find anything medically wrong with them, so they brought in a priest to try to help these possessed students. Looking through the planchette comes in on this list at number 4. According to the spooky urban legend, if you look through that device, you will see spirits that are surrounding you while you are playing the Ouija board. I advise you guys to not try this. I've never tried this because I am way too afraid to do so. So yeah, no thanks. I personally would rather not see all these creepy demons lurking over my shoulder. It's just best to just not know. But I know some people are curious, and I know a lot of you guys are curious. So you probably tried this. Let me know what happens when you try it in the comment section below. And if nothing happens, just make up a story. Some of these older planchettes don't have a viewing glass, so I think this urban legend became more popular when the Ouija board movies were released, because they look through it. Okay, next up at number 3, always dismiss the spirit. If you ever played the Ouija board, you know one of the major rules is to say, "Goodbye, spirits, like I'm done playing with you. Night night. Leave me alone now." If you don't do this, very bad things can happen. According to the urban legend, if you don't firmly say goodbye to the spirits, the portal remains open, and they will be able to pass through and do whatever they want to do. Another urban legend claims that if you don't say goodbye to the spirits will demand that you give them a sacrifice, and if you don't give them one, they will send demons after you. Coincidentally, a lot of people who have failed to close the board have reportedly gone insane and now live in mental institutions. I'm not sure if I 100% believe that. So, but for this one, lesson learned, don't forget to say goodbye, or better yet, how about you don't say hello? Don't start playing the game. The Ouija board can make you do things against your will, and this forces its way into number 2. Apparently, if you mess around with the Ouija board and you don't use it properly, demons or spirits can take control of your actions and thoughts and force you to do things that you never thought were possible. Take, for example, the murder of Brian Roach. He was slaughtered by his mother-in-law back in 2001 when the police interrogated her. She said that she was playing with the Ouija board when her 2 granddaughters and board told her to kill him. Later on, she also tried to kill the youngest daughter because she thought she was being possessed. And over in the UK, Paul Carroll drowned and dismembered the family dog, and his wife and kids took a bunch of prescription pills after the Ouija board session and tried to set the house on fire. And finally, in at number 1, I think we've done it again. We've saved the best for last, or worst for last. In this case, we have Zuzu the demon. Zuzu is one of the most infamous demons that is known to cause havoc and scary paranormal activities during the Ouija board sessions. No one knows the history of Zozo, but those who are unfortunate enough to contact Zozo have reported terrifying experiences. He is most often contacted through the Ouija board and has the potential to do some significant physical and mental harm to other users. One of the most famous encounters with Zozo was the man from Oklahoma. He first ran into this demon while he was playing the Ouija board with his girlfriend. At first, the Zozo were sharing information with him about the spiritual world, but this made the man addicted to the Ouija board, but over time Zozo became much more sinister. The man played so often that he eventually had a nervous breakdown and was claiming that demons were constantly following him. Zozo even said that he would steal the spirits of his daughter. When she nearly died, the man attempted to perform an exorcism to get Zozo away from his family. But that just him off even more, so now he runs a website and warns people about the dangers about messing around with the Zozo the demon. Well, there you guys have it. Hopefully you guys aren't too freaked out, and hopefully you guys never see Zozo the demon because he sounds pretty scary to me. Well, thanks for watching this video, guys. We'll see you guys all in the next one.
Welcome back, everyone. Today we're heading to the most southerly country in Africa to see what tales it has in store for us. Well, I'll be honest, I already know, obviously. But let me tell you, these are up there with some of the best we've done in this whole series, I think. You can believe me when I say that, because I don't always say that. So, here we go then. My name is Danny Burke, and this is the top 10 scary South African urban legends. Starting off at number 10 now, we have Pinky Pinky. This is a creature steeped in the mist of folklore, known to many South Africans as a symbol of fear, rape, and torment. It's said to be half man, half woman. Its origins date back centuries in Zulu culture. It's said to have rose-tinted skin and eyes with shocking pink hair. It's said to prey on adolescent girls, especially ones wearing pink, both in real life and in their nightmares. People say it tries to corner a girl and then speaks to her in a musical woman's voice and asks if the girl will play or be friends with Pinky Pinky. Some parts of South Africa are dismissive of this, but authorities do take reports of the creature seriously. Headmasters have even closed down schools in the past to protect their pupils from the so-called myth. Police investigations are not uncommon when reports of the Pinky Pinky come in. Perhaps real rapists and murderers have contributed to the spread of this myth, but many locals will tell you there's no smoke without fire. The Pinky Pinky really is out there. Next up at number 9 now, we have the ghostly horseman. In the Tokai forest lies the Tokai Manor. The story goes, in the mid-1800s it was owned by a man called Petrus Eckstein. He loved wild drunken parties, and for him, New Year's Eve was the greatest party of them all. One New Year's Eve, Petrus challenged his son Frederick in front of all of the guests. He made a bet that Frederick should ride his favourite horse up the steep steps of the manor and into the house. His son did this and all the guests cheered. As he went back down the stairs though, a slave rang the bell to signal midnight. The horse got spooked and tumbled down the steps, dragging Frederick to his death. This violent end is said to have bound Frederick's soul to the house, specifically in the way that he died. In the years since then, people who have worked or visited the house report hearing strange sounds, drunken laughter, or the echoing of horse hooves. Then there are some who swear they've seen a man in old-fashioned clothes galloping along on horseback in the forest, especially on New Year's Eve or in the early hours of the morning. At number 8 now, we have Highway Sheila. Residents of Chatsworth will know all about this famous ghost. According to them, Sheila was a young Indian girl who was trying to flag down people to help fix her broken car by the side of the N2 highway. A group of men pulled over, they sexually assaulted her, murdered her, and then left her by the side of the road. Her spirit is now said to be bound to that stretch of road, full of vengeance and hate for all of the living. She now does what was done to her, terrorizing or even killing innocent people on the road. One story involves a young man who picked up a hitchhiker called Sheila. The man offered to take her home and noticed the temperature drop in his car when the woman got in. He offered her his coat, which she accepted. He then dropped her off at her home nearby, at which point she wanted to return the coat. The man insisted that she keep it and said he would fetch it in the morning. When he went back to the house the following day, a middle-aged woman answered the door, and the a man asked for Sheila. The woman was baffled and said that Sheila doesn't live here anymore. The man said he had just dropped her off the night before. The woman said that was impossible, as Sheila had died years before. She told him where her grave was as proof. He rushed to the spot, and there, draped over the gravestone, was the jacket he had given to Sheila. Next up at number 7 now, we have the Mermaid of the Karoo. The Great Karoo is a large desert in South Africa. It doesn't rain very often there at all. They say that in parts of the Karoo, there are 5-year-old children who have never seen rain before. It didn't always used to be like this though. 250 million years ago, the whole area was apparently sea. Today you can find fossilized shells in the desert as evidence. This seems to tie in with a local legend that deep below the ground, in water pools, in caves, there lies a mermaid. Legend says that she has lived there ever since a great flood washed her there from the sea many years ago. When the waters receded, she was trapped there. In local folklore, people have seen the mermaid for generations. She lures them in by promising their heart's desires before sending them to a watery grave. This urban legend picked up pace when people pointed out that the ancient sand rock paintings in the driest part of Karoo Desert seem to depict mermaid-like creatures on the walls. Skeptics argue otherwise, but still, the legend of the Karoo mermaid has been around for a very long time now and may continue for just as long. Moving on to number 6 now, we have the anti-occult police. You've heard of normal police, traffic police, and undercover police. Have you heard of anti-occult police? In the 1980s and early 1990s, South Africa saw the birth of a real police squad whose sole role it was to fight back against satanic crimes. The founder of the unit was a Dr. Cobus Jonker, also known as the Hound of God. He said that in the 90s, he was investigating more than 250 cases a year and believed that there were thousands of Satanists active in South Africa. It was their job to make sure people who practice Wicca were doing so without harming anyone else around them. There were documented cases of some traditional healers harvesting organs from people in the name of their belief or simply for money. They often believe the victim must be alive when the organs are harvested, and they will try to find the youngest and most innocent victims possible. The pain and hormones released is apparently what gives the organ its power. In 2006, the police unit was officially dissolved, although some people in South Africa feel they simply went underground to continue a very real fight against the occult. Next up at number 5 now, we have the lightning bird. This is a mythical creature in a number of different tribal folklores in South Africa. It's said to take the form of a black and white bird, which is the size of a person. It summons thunder and lightning using its wings and talons. It's also vampiric and has an insatiable appetite for human blood. The bird is usually the servant of a witch or witch doctor and attacks their enemies. Some say it manifests itself as lightning to men and a bird to women. Although people fear the lightning bird attacking them and sucking their blood dry, some people hope to actually hunt it themselves. You see, the fat of the lightning bird is said to be a great source of fuel or an ingredient for traditional medicine. However, killing it is said to be no easy task, as the lightning bird is immune to gunshots or stabbing. You can't poison it or drown it. It can only be killed by fire. So, if you've ever wanted to hunt down and kill a vampiric lightning bird that can suck your blood dry, now you know how. Moving on to number 4 now, we have the Green Point Lighthouse. Built in 1924, the red and white striped Green Point Lighthouse is the oldest working beacon in South Africa. With all of that history, it may not come as a surprise to some people that the building is famously haunted. The story goes that the tower is inhabited by a one-legged spirit simply called Daddy West. There was actually a lighthouse keeper by the name of West who worked there in 1901. Some people believe this adds weight to the claims. Next, at number 3 now, we have the Afterlife Prison. Pieter Viesbert van Nudert was the governor of Cape Town in the early 1700s. During his time, 4 soldiers tried to flee his harsh rule. They were imprisoned, and when they tried to escape, they were sentenced to death. The governor refused to overturn the sentencing and also attend the hanging. The last soldier to receive his sentence cursed the governor with his dying breath. When officers went to report to the governor that the execution had gone as planned, they found him dead. He was slumped in his chair with a look of sheer terror on his face. Locals blamed the curse, but some people went even further with it. They believed the curse was not only to kill him, but to also tie his soul to the prison forever. These days, visitors to the Castle of Good Hope have reported seeing him roaming the hallways. They say he seems totally unaware of his situation as a ghost and just stares at tourists as if they are new prisoners ready to be executed for their crimes. Next up at number 2 now, we have the Spook House. This very old house in Cape Town has become known over the years simply as the Spook 1970s, the basement in this house was home to a cult group. They practiced their satanic rituals down here, unbeknownst to people at street level. They eventually left, worried that their rituals would be attracting too much attention. Although they were now gone, their energy apparently wasn't. Some believe that one of their victims still haunts the place to this day. Over the years, a number of visitors have spotted a translucent old man walking around the inside of the house. When he disappears, they hear doors swinging and slamming even though the air is still. And finally, number one now, we have the ghost of Elsa Croetti. She was a young Dutch woman who lived in the old Hootberry homestead that now houses the Katima restaurant. Back in the 1800s, they say she was in love with a British soldier. Her father prohibited her from dating him, and so the soldier hung himself from an oak tree near the manor house. The girl apparently died soon after as well. At the time, they said it was a broken heart. It's been well over a century and a half since these deaths, but people who work there swear they still see the couple. The staff of the restaurant occasionally witness very bizarre occurrences. These include pots flying off their kitchen walls, or books flying off their shelves, and lights dimming inexplicably. Others have seen the ghostly figure of a woman standing at one of the manor's windows, as well as that of a young man lurking near the oak trees, staring longingly at the house. The staff all believe this to be so true that they frequently leave meals out for the couple and say they have seen them dining together, enjoying what they were denied in life. Well, that was creepy, but also kind of cool, I think. I always wanted to go to South Africa before I made this video, and now I also know some pretty cool urban legend spots to check out too. Probably freaked myself out though before I get there. Hey, it's a thought that counts, I think. Where are we off to next then in the world with our urban legend series? You guys let me know. Thanks for watching, guys. My name is Danny Berg, and I will see you all in the next video.
What the heck is that? Is that a UFO? Well, it hasn't been ruled out, so maybe. It's plausible. I'm not sure if I believe in aliens or UFOs, but they could be out there. Well, that video was captured on